I don't remember saying you need to talk uncontrollably. I just said, you put data on the top, please. Data. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, data is the plural form of what? Anybody know what it is?
Data.
That is the same word. Data and data is the same way to pronounce it.
Is it data?
I believe it's datum. D-A-T-U-M is a singular, but usually when we talk about data, okay, you're talking about what is data, by the way. Our world is really run anymore by data, much more than it ever was before. Alex, data, if you had to explain it, would be exactly information. In math, usually that information involves some sort of numbers, obviously by virtue of that it is there. And in math, we call that those numbers statistics. Or if you hear somebody talk about stats, they're taking a stats class, that's what they're talking about. Statistics. Statistics. Statistics is nothing more than the science of gathering and organizing data. They're gathering and organizing. Gathering and organizing data. Now, usually when we do that, when we organize data, what ways do we organize them? Because nobody likes to look at something that just has a bunch of numbers in it. For example, if I collected all the data of the ages of everybody at Cross Lutheran School, and you just had a whole bunch of numbers that ranged from 3 to 15, like there'd be 200 numbers all in here with between 3 and 15, you would look at that and go, it's not organized. It doesn't mean anything to you. So we need to organize it, and we do organize it. And how do we organize it usually? Usually we organize data by putting it in some sort of graph. We usually graph it to organize it, which is nothing more usually than doing some sort of a visual representation. Okay, one of the ways we can graph things is through a open your books to page 211 because we're on investigation 4 there. One of the ways we organize data is with a bar graph. If you look at the example that they gave you there, under bar graph on page 211, they said, Patricia wondered which of 3 activities, team sports, dance, or walking, jogging, was the most popular among her classmates. She gathered the data by asking each classmate to select his or her favorite. Then she displayed the data with the bar graph. Had she not done the bar graph and just wrote down, Bob likes jogging, or whoever likes dance, or whoever, you'd be a little more confused. But here you can see, based on a graph, just by looking at it, because the data has been organized, which one is more popular. I don't know, I'm going to look at it again here. This thing goes up, one of them goes up to here, and the second one goes up to halfway between here, and the third one goes up to there. What's the first one there? First one is team sports, dance, and then jogging. Team sports, dance, jogging. And just by looking at it, rather than having to look at all the numbers and all the words or whatever there, you can tell that which is the most popular thing? Team sports, which would be what? What is a team sport? Basketball, volleyball, soccer, anything you play with a team. Dance, generally, I believe you do on your own. And jogging, generally speaking, even though cross country would probably be called a team sport, just jogging and running, that's kind of all by yourself there. So it's important for us to be able to organize our data, and we can do that in a whole bunch of different ways. One way is by a bar graph. Another way that they show you an example down there at the bottom is called a line plot. Okay, and with a line plot, you can tell there, it's just a way to organize all the numbers there. What did they draw a line plot? Roger wondered how frequently the residents of his street visit the city park. He went to every third house on the street and asked how many times per week do you visit the park. Roger displayed the data he collected with the line plot. So, I mean, you just have to kind of recognize what he's talking about here. How many times, and then he goes 0, what were the numbers? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Did somebody have a 7 actually in there? Sure. How many people went to the park 0 times in a week? Based on how many X's are above the 0, how many are there, Kyle?
3.
3. So 3 people did not visit the park at all. How many people went once a week? Okay.
4.
4, so there's 4 X's there. How many people went twice a week? 2 times a week. Mackenzie?
3.
3 times a week. Grace?
2.
2. Nicole, 4 times a week.
1.
1, 5 times a week. Kyle?
0.
0, 6 times a week. Lauren?
1.
1 and 7 times a week. What do we got there, Gabby?
2.
2. So somebody went every day of the week. And again, if you look at the line plot, I mean, you get a good indication, you know, where do you see the biggest clumps? If you're trying to get some real information off of this graph, where do you see the biggest clumps, Elizabeth?
1.
Yeah, right at 1, and you know, you can even generalize it a little bit more than just 1. It's all pretty much right here, or even more right here. Most people went to the park either 1 or 2 times a week. You know, some people did go 6 and 7 times, but when you're talking of all of them there, that's not very many. Yes, nobody went 5 days a week. But anyway, now turn the page there because they also talk about data, 2 different types of data that they talk about, and one of them is quantitative data, and the other one is qualitative data. And what is the difference between those two? It says in this investigation, we'll focus on ways in which statistical data can be collected. We'll also practice collecting, organizing, displaying, and interpreting. Doesn't that sound fun? Data can either be quantitative or qualitative in nature. Quantitative data come in numbers. Quantitative data is in numbers. Okay. What would be a good way to remember that? Besides using your notes. Alex?
There's more letters.
There's more letters, and what do those first few letters say? What word can you get out of those first letters there? Demetra? Quantity. When somebody asks you the quantity of something, you're talking about how much, what you would give a number. This comes from the word quantity. Okay, things that would come in quantitative data, the book says what? Population. What else do they talk about? You know, how many people live in a country, how many pairs of shoes you own. Anything that you can give an answer as a number. How many kids are in the 6th grade class? That's a quantity. How many? As opposed to qualitative, which comes in categories. I mean, you can think about that, and again, the word that this comes from is qualities. What qualities does it have? You know, things that come in categories. You know, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite month? things that you would give as answers as words more so. Your favorite flavor of ice cream. Okay, those are qualitative things as opposed to quantitative things. Now, in talking about that, they give 6 different things there, or 5 different things. Which one do you think it is? Number 1, I don't know who Jagdish is, but apparently she collects 50 bags of clothing for a clothing drive and counts the number of items in each bag. Would that be quantitative or qualitative? Counting the number of items in each bag. Is that talking about numbers, or is that talking about types and characteristics there? Bailey? Right, it's quantitative because it's how many. It's got a number. Number 2 says, for 1 hour, Carlos notes the color of each car that drives past his house. Is color going to be a quantitative or qualitative, Zach?
Qualitative.
Right, it's a quality. It's something, a character trait or trait that it has. Number 3, Sharon rides a school bus home after school. For 2 weeks, she measured the time it takes to make the bus trip. She measures time. Is time a number thing, or is that a quality? You measure time in some sort of number. Sam?
Quantitative.
Yeah, it's quantitative. You got numbers there. Bridget asks students in her class, which is your favorite holiday? New Year's, Thanksgiving, or Independence Day? Josh?
Qualitative.
Yeah, quality, because it's a quality. Marcelo asks each player in his Little League team, which Major League Baseball team is your favorite? What team do you like the least? Right?
Qualitative.
Qualitative, very good. Write a survey. No, we're not going to write a survey. Let's look at the bottom part there. This question will give you quantitative. How many hours a week do you spend watching television? We record the number of hours a person watches TV. Then we organize the quantitative data from least to greatest. We display it. Are you with me on the line plot? Yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Look at page 213 then. By the way, they kind of walk you through the steps if you're going to actually make a line plot. That's how they did it there. This question will give you qualitative data. Which type of TV show do you prefer to watch? Sports, news, animation, sitcoms, or movies? We organized it by data and a tally. The frequency of each thing. I don't think there's a question there. Is there a question there? Let's turn the page. Turn the page, boys and girls. I'm going to stop this thing.